have blood on their hands, and with their last budget and their election promises, they have admitted it.
I wish we'd started training more doctors and nurses earlier. We need more doctors and nurses in the NHS. I did believe that it was necessary to make very painful cuts in public spending in 2010. But in retrospect, I can see that the cuts to social care were in a way the most silent, but also the most devastating.
For years, the Labour Party argued that Britain should take advantage of historically low interest rates and borrow to invest in the economy. But now, faced with a decade of sluggish economic growth, wage stagnation and the new threat of coronavirus, the Conservatives finally conceded that they were wrong and are now borrowing billions for infrastructure investment and to stimulate the economy. Which proves what we have said all along, that austerity was always a political choice, not a necessity. It was the Conservatives under David Cameron who told us that if we didn't achieve a budget surplus, the economy would suffer.
The only way out of a debt crisis is to deal with your debts.
Yet 10 years later, that surplus has still not materialised and apparently is now unnecessary. We were told by Theresa May,
there isn't a magic money tree that we can shake that suddenly provides for everything that people want.
And yet the Conservatives now want credit for suddenly finding the money that was there all along. But they don't deserve any praise. Because when the Conservatives promised to increase funding for our flood defences to protect our communities, they're admitting that when they cut flood defences, they left us unprotected. When the Conservatives promised to hire more police officers, saying that this will make Britain safer, it proves that when the Conservatives cut 21,000 officers in the first place, they made us less safe. And when the Conservatives promised to build more hospitals and hire more nurses to make us healthier, it means that when they close hospitals and cut nurses' bursaries, they were putting our lives at risk. A decade of cuts to the NHS have left it at breaking point. There's a staff shortage of 100,000. There are 17,000 fewer beds, and we have one of the lowest rates of emergency beds in Europe. And with waiting times at their worst since records began, it means we'll be underprepared and under-resourced to deal with coronavirus. Now I know what people will say, that the Conservatives had to make those cuts because of supposed Labour spending, and now they can afford to spend more. But this isn't true, for one simple reason. We have less money now than we did when the Conservatives took office. Under the Tories, national debt has nearly doubled to over £1.8 trillion, and our debt to GDP has risen from 70% to 85%. So why is it okay to spend money now when we have less of it? The truth is, they didn't need to cut our schools, our hospitals, our police, our firefighters. The Conservatives didn't need to choose a decade of austerity over investment, and even with the new spending plans, funding for our public services and social care is still woefully behind what is needed. Because of the choices Conservatives made, we have all been left vulnerable.